So, typically at Art of Optiks, we want to make sure that not only does the frame fit well, but also it kind of plays to the patient's individual style or customer. Many of the frame fitting rules that really used to be in play are no longer in play. So we'll get customers in that say, I need this specific size or this specific bridge. When the reality is a lot of those types of elements we don't use anymore when we're fitting a frame. Now, having said that, there are some very specific things that we are going to look for when we are fitting a frame. One of those things is going to be, how is the eye centered? That is very, very important for optics. We want the eye to be fairly centered in the frame. If it is out, the eyes are out just a few millimeters past that, it's totally fine, but from an optics and a fitting perspective, we want that eye to be fairly centered. We are also going to be looking for things like, does the frame hit the cheeks? We don't want the frame to hit the cheeks, unless you are someone who doesn't want to smile, and then it's totally fine. But that is really important. We're going to look for how close the frame sits to somebody's face. If the frame is sitting too close to the face and it doesn't have nose pads, there are a few minor adjustments that we can do, but ultimately that frame is probably always going to hit the eyelashes. So at that point, we're either going to look for a different plastic frame that we have a little bit more adjustability on, or we're going to go to a frame with nose pads. We do also have an option for customers who fall in love with a frame to be able to put nose pads on a frame. I actually just did this for a customer yesterday. So those are a few of the things we're going to be looking for. We're also going to be checking the temple fit. Some people call them the arms. An optician would call them a temple. We want to make sure that those aren't, specifically, they're not too short. That we really just can't adjust. So we get, from time to time, we'll get somebody in and they will be talking about how their frame doesn't fit. And we look behind the ears, and the optician that styled them in something where the temple really just can't be adjusted to fit behind the ear. So that is going to be something that we really look for. If it's too long, that also can cause a problem if we can't make the temple shorter. In some cases here we can do that, but not often. So those are, as far as fit goes, those are a few of the things that we're going to be looking for. We used to really be big on making sure that the frame was a couple millimeters below the eyebrow. We don't really look so much for that now, simply because a lot of the shapes that these designers are producing, because the manufacturing techniques have gotten better, allow them to do these really crazy avant-garde shapes and colors and geometric patterns that we didn't see before. And so then we kind of go to a patient's overall style rather than where that eyebrow is sitting. Now, having said that, you don't want someone with a very arched brow to have a very flat frame on the top. That is just never going to look good. So if a patient does fall in love with a frame, we do really try to steer them towards something that is going to be aesthetically really pleasing for their face. Personal style does play really heavily into what I'm going to pick for a patient as far as frame goes. But really, I'm going to spend the first 10 minutes that somebody is sitting down with me talking about things like lifestyle, job, how hard are they on their glasses, what are their visual needs. A lot of patients and customers are going to need more than one pair of glasses because they need sunglasses, they need an occupational lens for at work. And these things are all really, really important to kind of nail down before we have someone fall in love with a frame that is not going to be suitable for them. Another big thing that we're going to look at is the prescription. Before I ever select a frame, I am always going to be looking at that prescription because different prescriptions have different frame needs. For example, if someone is a high minus prescription, they need something that is smaller and less angular. Otherwise, the lenses are going to be really, really thick and the optics aren't going to be good. Conversely, if someone is a high plus prescription, and that is where their magnification is all in the center of the lens, we need to make sure we don't do something like a drill mount frame or a groove or a string mount, because that's going to add additional thickness to the edge, which is also going to add additional magnification to the center of that lens. So we really need to be taking those things into account when we are starting to look for that first batch of frames. I'm also going to ask the customer about things like color choices, what things I should stay away from. In relation to their job, do they need to be a certain person during the day? You know, there are some professions, unfortunately, that you really do have to look and act a certain way, and the glasses also have to say that same thing.